Hi, guys, and welcome to the African Unite First. If this is the first time here, very much welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're watching from. If you haven't subscribed already, please go ahead and do so. Like, share, hit the bell notification so whenever I upload, you'll be notified. If you want to be part of our offline meeting, the Solution Code, where we talk about really very important issues that are affecting us as Black people globally, please go ahead and write me an email. Follow me on Instagram. The link will be in the description of this video. So today we have an important guest, and today's topic has to do with how an African American builds a house in northern Ghana named Bonsu Micro Village. Okay, so joining me today is our very own sister, ES from Eat Love Migrate. I'm just going to bring her in real quick, okay? So give me a minute now to do that. Hi, sister. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Thank you for having me
Right.
on your channel. Thank you so
You're
much.
very much welcome, sister. You're very much welcome. Please go ahead and introduce yourself real quick before we go into today's topic here.
Well, I'm not really important to humanity or anything. I'm just a regular old person with a YouTube channel. But my channel name is Eat Love Migrate. And yeah, I'm just a presenter over there, just doing the hobby like everyone else.
Right.
Yep. I'm here in northern Ghana. And it's so funny because I have been given names, different like names since I arrived. But the children are making the name ES stick even harder than anything. And I tell them like, where's my ceremony? They said, but the children call you ES, so we have to go with ES. And I'm like, but I need I put the name, we gotta solidify it. And they're just put the children. And I'm like, so be it. So, but part of my name, is Bonsu. That is one of the surnames that I was given. And then
Oh,
also, but that comes from the Jew. About that. I think my network, that's me or what. But anyways, real briefly with regards to the name. So ES is just a nickname, but it is Yapa. Okay, here in northern region, I've been studying with the Dagbon for years, and so they finally said, "Oh, well, actually, you know what? I received it in a dream, and then we went and confirmed it. That's what it was." And so it almost means pretty much the same thing as Bonsu, believe it or not, and that has
wow.
to do with being an ancient grandparent here, and
Mm-hmm.
so ancient granddaughter of the paramount kings and queens of the ancient days. And so they said I'm a reincarnate. So we just went with it. But Bonsu means like a great well, like a mother or something that overwhelms, right? So I started putting two and two together, and I'm like, okay, so we'll just let it stick. And so, with regards to Bonsu Micro Village, I just felt that Bonsu being a well of the sea, holds things. So I said, well, just go with that name, and so that's the name that I chose for the project that we're doing. So ES is cool, but I have people from the Asante who call me Bonsu, and then I
Wow.
have Bon who
Yes. Okay, guys, we're
your
having a
pa,
little
but
technical.
then I
Yeah.
the
Okay,
children
you're
are
back.
calling me ES, and then on YouTube I'm ES. So
Okay. All right. So before we actually go into the concept of Bonsu Micro Village, okay? So we're gonna have a little talk about you, right? Um, hello. All right, guys, we're having a little technical issues, but bear with us. Bear with us, okay? Yeah, just bear with us. Okay, so yeah, we're having a little technical issue, guys. Please bear with us. Bear with us, guys. Bear with us. Yeah, so we having a little technical issues, but I believe we will do this regardless. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna wait on our guest a little while. Please, I'm so sorry for the technical issues, guys. Just bear with us, okay? And don't forget to raise the likes up, right? Don't forget to raise that likes up. Well, if you have any question, just put it in the chat room. Put it in the chat room. Let me do a quick shout out before, while waiting on our guest. Let me do a quick shout out. Maria Internet, you're very much welcome. Patricia Boyd, you're welcome, sister. Azuzu Blog, you're very much welcome. Yeah, so guys, put your questions if you have any question. Put it in the chat room. If you want to know something, if you want to, ask any question to our guest. We're having a little technical issues, and please bear with us. Please bear with us, guys. Okay. Yahua Shabaka, you're very much welcome. Very much welcome. Guys, bear with us now. Please, you have to bear with us. I'm so sorry for the technical issues.
Can you guys hear me?
Oh,
Because I
yeah.
seem to be having some sort of issue. I'm not able to hear our host. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you there?
Okay. We're back. Yeah.
Serious issue here. Okay. I'm back. Hopefully it works
Okay.
out. Okay. You
Yeah.
go ahead, take it away. Sorry about that.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, so I just want us to have a little talk before we go into the concept of Bonsu Micro Village. Okay, so you know about you were born and raised in America, right? And before returning back home, right? Of course, the standard of living, the way of living, and all of that is quite different from the continent. And now coming back to the continent, right? To Ghana precisely, you chose to, you know, you chose the village over the city life,
Oh,
right?
no.
But,
Oh,
but, no. I'm just saying to have the Bonsu micro village built or
mm,
something like that, right? Because now I just wanted to know, like, because I have a question: is it that you chose the village or the village chose you? But
I,
my own little opinion, I think the village chose you.
well, you pretty much did it right. Definitely. Yes. I didn't choose the village. So when people be like, why did she choose the village?
Right.
I'm the village. I did that wasn't my first choice at all.
That's
Thank
what
you.
I'm saying. Like the village chose you, and that is going to take me to to my next discussion that has to do with back to our roof, right? Because it's very important. I'm literally very interested in Bonso Micro Village, and to me, it's very interested. And you know, hello, you there? Hello.
Okay. Sorry. If I go in
Okay.
now, it's not working out, but go ahead, sis.
Okay. All right.
If it
Now,
goes out, just bear with me unless it goes out forever.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Okay.
No,
Okay.
yeah.
Right. So that has to do with us back to our root, right? So what you're doing, which for me is very interesting, right? And intriguing. Because what you're doing, you're taking us back to our roots right? Why other people? By other people, I mean some of us Africans, right, who are literally very brainwashed, right? We are they're taking us, out of our root, outside of our roots, right? And that has to do with the whole concept or the architectural structure of what Africa is all about, right? Because if you look at Europe and the West, Africa, they're striving to be like Europe and the West and Asia and all of these places, right? But if you travel around these places, you will see the architectural structure. They have skyscrapers, they have all of these things. It's pretty much the same. Now, what is going to make that's why I'm actually very, very intrigued about Bonsu Micro Village, because now we are going back. You're taking us back to our roof. We should have to depend on what we had before. That has to do with our Asian architectural structure, designs, and all of this thing that is African, not something outside Africa, right? So what do you think about that? Because for me, that is really very important, because I don't think Africa should look like Europe and the West and all of these places. I think we should have more Bonsu micro village, well designed in the African, pattern, design and all of that. So that part right there, because if the whole world looks alike in terms of architectural structures, way of life, way of living, and all of these things, nothing is going to be interesting. We want to go back to our roof. We want to go back to nature. We want to go back to those things that we used to do, and then we are not trusting on that. So seeing you know, you've lived all your life in the West, and you came back and you're doing this thing, it is very inspiring to a lot of us, me in particular, right? It is very inspiring to me, because that right there is like reminding us and telling us, look, we have something and we can actually, depend and build with what we have, so the world can come to us, not the other way around, because they would want something different. So what do you think about that when it comes to, our own architectural structures and design?
You know what? I really respect that you brought this up because no one has ever asked me about that part. And, I really commend you on diving into the psychology of the origins of the African architecture, which is absolutely beautiful to me. It's something that I don't know, like the first time that I entered into one to greet the chief, I felt so at home. I felt at ease and I felt as if it had some sort of grounding effect. And it felt natural for me. And also, I really enjoyed watching a lot of people from other ethnicities and nations build structures like that in the West using cob. And often wonder, like, where did they get this from? And lo and behold, they got it from Africa, from various places. And throughout the continent, you'll see, diverse ways in which they do it using thatch. And so people were warning me, don't use it. Your places are going to go up in flames and this and that. And I'm like, well, slow down just a second, because this one is actually inspired spiritually. I didn't just say, hey, I'm just going to build, I just felt spiritually that it was the thing to do. I literally designed it before I even hit the continent. And so when I hit the continent and I see these structures, I enter into these structures. How did I grasp that connection? I do not know. I just do not know. But I do believe, like you said, that it is something that is necessary. We want people to gravitate towards understanding. Okay, it looks like a mother who the to me that is very important and very significant. It's medicine in there. So that's why it's important. And so when people come to, Bonsu, whenever it finally opens up to the public, which by the way, it is my home. When people decide to come, they will enter into the home of a mother. And I want it to be a comfortable place for people to connect to the community. So within the community that I chose to design this, there's thatch roofs all over the place. And I wanted the people in the neighborhood to know that I didn't come there to be this white woman squatting on their land. Not that I'm squatting, but I don't know. I just wanted them to feel comfortable with what I was doing. At first, there was some strange resistance. Like, why are you building this? Like people from the neighborhood were so shocked by that. Like, why are you building the local house? And I'm like, well, it's beautiful to me. And then all of a sudden, I just started getting all this respect, especially from the men. Like, what? A white woman? That's what they call me. A white woman comes to Africa and builds this? You know? So we got past all that. They know who I am
Right.
now.
Right. Okay. Now tell us about the concept. Now I know you've touched a little about that, but how did you come up with the concept of Bonsu Micro Village? How did you get the name? All of that, because it's very interesting to me, because I'm like, I'm shocked in a way, like how did she come up with this concept, the name, and all of these things, right? It's
It all
really
coming
interesting,
together. Yes,
right?
it's so very spiritual that you asking me these questions, I have to like actually think about it. Like, okay, how did this happen? I mean, initially the plan was not for the community. I came to build it for myself and my mother, and my children, if they're adults. So if they ever decided to come up here. And the reason why I thought it was important to put it here is because of the hospitality and also the spiritual support that I received from the elders here. And so I was coming back to actually say thank you and build this particular concept in Tanzania. Now, being that I came back to thank them and I realized like these guys are even better than I thought, like in person, because they were helping me in the States. But, I just like, if I were to live somewhere, I want to live with these types of people. That's pretty much how that all started. And so anyways, prior to making that final commitment of this is where I'm going to build it, I did some traveling around Ghana. And so, like I had mentioned before, I don't know if it cut off, I had met with the queen mother of the Juwabin down in the eastern region. And so when I first entered in, she was watching me, looking at me. I knew she was reading me. And so she did just a natural reading while she was eating. It's all I even filmed it all. And so by the end of our conversations or whatever, she said, you're an ancestor. She was like, you're my ancestor. And she gave me an understanding on what that all meant. And she had seen what they saw here, is that I was a reincarnate, an ancient grandparent, and come from the ancient kings and queens. And so usually the spirit, the fetish priests, the fetish queens, that they all know their kind spiritually. Like they all know
Right.
that we come from a certain, so they're able to detect it and pick it up quick. So I said I would always hold that name because I absolutely loved it. It sat 100% with me. So I said, wherever I go, that's it, Monsu. And all the men were like, well, that's a surname. That's a man's name. And I'm like, well, even my birth name is a man's name. It's crazy. So anyways, coming up here to the north, after, getting comfortable with, okay, let me just get the land and just do this. I said, well, we're going to create this, this here building. And so my mom had passed away. And so I felt a little defeated, like what the heck, like how am I I'm building all this space and I even have my adult children. They're not coming here anytime soon. They're trying to figure themselves out. So at that point, I started thinking about the name Bonsu. And I was like, well, I kept seeing a well, gathering things, coming in and out. And so I thought about, well, maybe I could just continue to build something that will allow people who are coming and going to feel comfortable, up here in the north, because most people don't want to come up here because it's predominantly Muslim. They have a lot of people are just so misinformed, regarding this particular culture up here in the north. Many of the cultures up here in the north, because they just see women covered, or they see men in traditional garb, so they don't really understand who they are, what they're about. But the Dagban tradition in general, there's others, they hold very firm to their original traditional spiritual systems. So you'll see hundreds of thousands of these thatch roof, homes. People have been born in them, do spiritual things in them, and all this stuff. So I just felt that it would be a good complement, even though it's a bit more modernized, to apply that in the area. So I had to start educating people even in the area, like the reason why I'm doing this is so that when people come from wherever in the world, they can come house within the communities freely, because that was my original concept. Part of the year I offer it to people who actually support now. If they come, the whole purpose is for them to greet the chiefs and receive spiritual support, spiritual education, as well as history pertaining to what actually happened here in the North, because there's numerous slave camps and historical sites that are not mentioned or were not mentioned in the year of return. And so It just offers another place for people to come. When it comes to Ghana, that has been complete and utterly ignored. Like I said, this was not originally planned, so I've had to kind of like piece it together. But the basic concept is for people to come and be housed, reasonably rated. Sometimes it's only open 6 months out of the year, freely to those who have supported it through my Patreon or whatever. And the reason for that is because I live there, so I can't have it just completely open. And it is a spiritual area. It's not like something that I promote, like come give me all your money and come stay with me. No, I encourage people to receive divinations, and kind of like take care of their spiritual affairs first, and I help them through that. So you can call it a guest home, but I don't even really think it's that. I think it's just Bonsu, a mother that houses things. And so we have people that are very interested in the history here. They're very interested in traditional spirituality. So I'll just be one of those portals for people to come in and out, but the resources that we have here pertains to the healing that's actually needed amongst the diaspora and those that are native to the lands of Africa regarding their original spiritual systems. I'm very open regarding that because that is something that has helped me. And that is something that I'm not afraid to share on my channel and in my video. Whatever I do, I always make sure to let them know, like, this is the reason why, it's lit over here, and that's it. You know what I mean? Bottom line, the reason why I'm here on the continent is because of this, because I had some
Right.
serious hardships over there. So these blessings
Thank
didn't
you.
come just on my
Hmm.
own. You see what I'm saying? Like, it was a lot of what I
Right.
learned here that allowed me to do this project as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. So tell us about, okay. Now, I believe that before you start building the Bonsu micro village, um, are there challenges that you had, at the beginning, you know? So because we want, because I know for a fact that a lot of people, including myself, a lot of us out there who are literally very inspired of, you know, with what you're doing, would want to also have such thing. Like I previously stated that I would love to see Bonsu micro village, right? In in all over the continent of Africa. So it could be Bonsu village, or educational center for educational center, for a lot of things, right? But it should be from the African concept, right?
I
So not just about a particular thing for healing. It should be for healing. It should be for everything. You see.
yeah.
So that is why I want to know what are the challenges that you face, so that maybe for those of us who wants to embark on such things, right, the same thing that you're doing, can actually, avoid certain of these things and see how we can, do that,
Okay.
particularly to the diasporas who are attempting to do the same thing, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that is a part of my plan. We'll see what happens. There will be certain countries that will be selected that are in agreement with the concept that I'll do it there. For right now, I can only see up to three of them. So that would be three max, three countries that will be completely like the people will be receiving of the concept. Okay. So,
Mm-hmm.
anyways, as far as the challenges that I have received since the beginning, it would have. Okay, so there's really only two that I can think of off the top. The first one is environmental with regards to the weather.
Okay.
The first initial concept was that we built using mud or dirt, water, straw, the aggregate, natural materials. And
Right.
so there are some early videos that will show what happened to those bricks that we were building. And so the
Right.
moisture, it was a seasonal thing. See, I didn't study the seasons up here. It's so different up here. We have
Mm-hmm.
dry and then we have wet season. And so I was about 3 months late, but I was so adamant about getting it started. So we tried. So we had to save it by creating regular concrete bricks or cement bricks. That was not the original idea. We were supposed to build it with all natural materials. That was the concept. But it's
Mm-hmm.
okay. We were able to do something different and cut
Right.
time down tremendously. And so the challenges, that was number one with the weather. And also, just so you know, guys know, building naturally is more cost effective. The budget originally was very, very small compared to what it became. Just want to put that out there. All right. And so the second challenge, this is very important. All right, it's kind of a couple of things mounted into one. As a woman in female form, um, well, um, it was okay. The language was a bit of a challenge, but I had someone to interpret for me. But then also, being that I do come from the States, there is a certain standard by which they build and do things, as far as measurements are concerned. It's almost as if they have mastered, certain areas and trades, and it is okay. It's something that I learned while I was there. Most people that are educated there, I like to think of it as like the perfect slave, because the training there, the codes and everything, they beat it into you.
Right.
And so we come with that same ideology of it needs to be like this and this, so but that's not always the case when you enter into indigenous societies. Being creative was quite challenging, especially ideas that were new. So I had an original plan, where it's all drawn out by an architect, but then there's like, what, I would like to add this too. But then they're like, well, what is this? I don't understand the underground pool. Why would you want to do that?
Right.
Because I want one. Like, what do you mean? Why would I want to do that?
Right.
Like no one else with this. Why do you want that? So in my mind, I'm like, this is exciting. This will excite the senses, but not so much so with indigenous populace. And this is a very distinct situation, because we're talking about people that have been doing the same thing over and over and over again. And so not only are you this female, but you're coming up with creative ideas that make no sense to some, so, but we got through that. It was a lot of challenges with new concepts, new ideas, that seem impractical to someone who just needs something that is more practical. For my wife and my children, we just need a square space, a little kitchen, and we go. You see what I'm saying? So that was a little different for me, being that it was my first project. In my mind, I'm molding clay and I'm coming up with all outdoor showers and all this stuff, but and excuse me. So if there was a challenge and I had to communicate that, it was difficult. Oh gosh, it was so many times where someone would tell me that cannot be done. And I would say, that was so foreign to me. Like, what do you mean that cannot be done? So I got that a lot. Who, that would boil my blood so much for months. But let me tell you something. Everything that they told me could not be done was done, because I had to apply pressure. At first, it was very difficult to apply pressure, because here it is, all these men and this white woman trying to tell them what to do. But this is what the plan says. I just pretend, even if it wasn't a part of the plan. This is what the plan said, though. I need it. So I was, they call it ES pressure out here. Whenever I get real serious and like, nope, we're gonna do this, or give me someone who will. Like, I'm not gonna sit up here and try to force anybody that does. If you cannot do it, all you got to do is say. But see, they won't tell you that. They may not be skilled in it, and so they may not express that. Like, you know what, I'm not really familiar with this, but I have someone who will. They won't. And then if there is an issue, if an issue comes, they won't call you up and say, well, you know what, we've found an issue here. They won't call you up. Nope, they'll fix the issue without your approval. And so when you see the thing and you go and you say, no, that's not what I asked for, then they're just like, you see what I'm saying? So it's a different cultural dynamic here, versus in the West, the person that's working for you has to call before they make a decision. People will just try to make decisions for you. So that was trying. So this taught me to just be on top of everything, so that they don't have to make the decision. I'm always there. Like, so, and some people have challenged me, you micromanage. I don't care. I'm just going to make sure that we don't have to do this again.
Right. That's very important. That's very important. I mean, you have to have a lot of patience, when dealing with, these some of our people. That's just a fact right there, because you have to have a lot of patience and you need to communicate, you know,
Yeah.
in a language they will understand. But
Ab-
nevertheless, I think our people need to understand how to readjust and adjust on certain things when it comes to building what someone actually wants. And we cannot keep on I mean, going on the concept that it has to be, because a lot at times, because I've seen it, right? You see the person who is actually building and the laborers, they're arguing, you know and the laborers are saying, this is how it should be done. This is my job. I've been doing
yeah.
this for 50 years, 60 years. This is how it should be done. And you're telling the person that I want it to be done this way. You see? And then
Yes.
there's a
Yeah.
little bit of conflict. So if you don't know how to communicate it, or the person, like the people must be able to, communicate when they cannot do it, or like you
Yeah.
stated, if there's an issue, they should communicate, and so that you make the decision. I think that has to be, you know, taught our people, so that for those of them who are still having this type of challenges, because it's literally everywhere. It's like this. That's just one aspect. I mean, with our people strong-headed, I'm so sorry, in certain areas like this is how this is how it is. They're not gonna they're not
Yeah.
gonna let go. That's just one area anyway. But thank you so much for sharing that with the viewers. I think that will
Yeah.
help a lot,
But
and to go.
I want to say one. Can I say one more thing just
Right.
about that? You made so much sense with that. It is, they'll feel as though they are the master and you're just paying for it,
Mm-hmm.
and so that right there was a challenge too. But I would push the project manager by saying, listen, I understand that you guys have your mastery and this and that. Say, but I'm paying for it, so I'm going to need somebody to come and do this. And so whenever I was more assertive, they understood that part, because I say, well, how about this? I'll just stop it and I'll just go find someone in Accra. I don't mind just being more honest about it needs to be done, and they want the money. So and then the conflict is so unnecessary. Like, we had minimal conflicts.
Right.
The majority of my conflicts came from project manager feeling that I was pressuring them, but no, you're the language, you're the barrier between me and them. Don't take it personal, project manager. Let them know that this needs to be done. So for those, there's project manager in the comment section. So let them know that this is happening and ES pressure is serious. So anyways.
I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, I'm really glad that, I mean, you're actually strong on that aspect, on your views and things like that, to actually bring what you have, because you have the concept, you have what in your head. So
yeah.
you are the one seeing it. They are not. So you that needs to be actualized. So that's one
Yes.
aspect
It
with
means
our people, you see. Yeah, so they have to readjust, because they are not used to it. So yeah, so once there's a change, there's gonna be a little discomfort. So, but it's still gonna be okay. They will have to readjust to make sure they do the right thing, and
event.
and suit what, yeah, eventually. So that part right there, I had to give you, I mean, kudos to you, because you are very strong to do that aspect, because our people, I mean, sometimes it's not easy. But yeah.
This has taught me,
Uh,
no, but it was this project that taught me that, though. It was this project that
right.
taught me. So I'm
Hmm.
being educated. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, I appreciate it.
Right. Right. Now, of course, before you build, you must get a land first. So, please tell us how one can, acquire a land in northern Ghana, or legally, and all of those things for
Yeah.
those who wants to build. And yeah, so how can we go about that process?
Yeah, I count myself part of. I don't talk like this, but I feel very blessed, to have found the connections that I did, because I did not know
Mm-hmm.
that it can get a little hectic down, near the water. Okay, so there is a
Mm-hmm.
big difference here. I give kudos and respect to the people, because if you try to, you know, do something weird, you can get the whole community on that person. So anyways, luckily I found someone, who had lots of land with paperwork right there. And I was just able to see the land, look at the paperwork, go to the lands commission, see if it was okay, all of these things. So, and even all this time, I'm still waiting for the finale, but we were able to see if anyone else had claims to it, and no one else has claims to it. So it was a smooth process for me. And it's a small piece, but when I saw it, I just fell in love with it because it was right there by a baobab tree. And there's many natural ancestor shrines all around. And I just said, this is absolutely me. So I had to do certain prayers to even see if it was a good fit, and rituals, and divinations to see if it was a good fit. And so I did all of those things because I didn't want to just go and just select a piece of land and then later on I have problems, because that happens with a lot of people up here.
Right.
So for the most part, in all of the dealings of myself as well as anyone who has come up here, they bought land, just easy breezy, easy breezy.
Okay.
They're able to go to the land commission and look up their land, process their land. It's not no drama involved, no drama thus
Uh,
far. It's been a year and a half.
Well, I mean, the land issue, I mean, I want us to stress a little on the land because, people from, I just want us to educate the diasporas particularly, because for those of some, because I've seen situations where people are talking, because a lot of land scam, of course, this is a known fact, in across the continent of Africa. So there's a lot of land scam, someone can just go and stand on a land with paper that the land is not their land. They will just go with paper and stand there and take
Yeah.
pictures and say this is their land. All of these things. I want us to avoid. Particularly Africa from the diaspora, to avoid such situation. So how can those from the diaspora, particularly some of them, they buy land from the diaspora. They've not been to Africa, but they are already buying land that they've not actually. What do you
Yeah.
have to say to such type of
I
people
think
investing
that.
already when they've not been on the continent?
Yeah, that's so strange to me. I never understood that. I don't trust people like that. So that's my stance on that. But there are a lot of people who are very trusting because they might see someone on the internet who's doing this or that, right? And they just want to give because they're so genuine. But I say, even if you do trust the person, just wait until you get there. You want to at least see the documents, and both of you can go to the lands commission and process, just see if it's okay. Is it owned by anyone else? Is it free and clear? That's all you want to know. Is it free and clear, and for you to go and process it yourself? You don't want to just, get it. I mean, you can still have the paperwork and then someone else has the land too. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's why I'm like,
Right,
just, you can go and see if that land is belonging to someone else. You know what I mean? And they're just nowhere to
right,
be found. So this whole buying land from afar, I'm not really okay with that personally.
right.
Yeah, I don't find comfort in that one right there at all. Now there are some places here that offer land for free, legitimate land for free, based off of the returning home thing. And I have friends or associates who have gone and investigated and said it's all official. And so that was refreshing. Now, with regards to free, you're still responsible for processing the land. Okay, so it
Mhm.
costs. I think I paid 500 for the recorders. I forgot the secretary. It was some steps that I had to, but my land wasn't free, but it wasn't expensive either. But for those who are looking at that free land, yes, it is free, meaning that you're not buying the plot or the acreage, but you still have to pay for the filing fee or the registry, whatever. That's just normal. So don't be
Mhm.
surprised by that. And don't try to call Ghana a scam because you're taking care of the essentials, when it comes
Right.
to the government and, stuff like that. They have requirements.
Right. And also, just a little bit of my advice to those from the diaspora as regards land, right? I do not think that in addition to what our sister ES has just, explained to us, I do not think that you should actually invest in YouTubers and all of those things when it comes to buying of land and properties and things like that, right? Also get a lawyer involved and, in certain of these things, just to make
It,
sure that, yeah, just to make sure that you're on the right path, and make sure you see the land with your eyes, get a lawyer involved and make sure everything is cool, because this is a fact.
that's
Like in the continent of Africa, right, there is land scam. It's just a fact. We cannot deny that aspect. So please make sure that you do your research. Don't just start acting upon, because you just go and then you trust and do certain things. Things are not done that way. across the globe is the same. So if you go, the scamming is everywhere. So it might not be land issue, it might be something else, but you should do your proper research and try to see how you can work with the right people so that you can, be on the right path. So that aspect is just what I want to put out there, so people are informed on this aspect, so you don't start
Great
complaining.
idea. Great idea. Sorry, I was going to say, even hiring a lawyer on the land. I didn't even think about that. Like hiring a lawyer on the land, right? A licensed lawyer, right? In the
Right,
country that you want to go check it out.
right,
They will do these things.
right.
That's
They will do it.
like, that's
Right,
a way to kind of,
right.
alleviate the confusion later on.
Exactly. And then they will give you the right information, as regards to what you should do, how we should go about it. And perhaps no payment should be made except you see the land and you see that everything, the paperwork, everything is cool and okay, then you can want to make payments after you've seen the land and things like that. So, I mean, that just that aspect. So, Sister E, please tell us about the purpose of Bonsu Micro Village. Like, what is the purpose of Bonsu Micro Village? I know you've said a little, cover this aspect, but can you just,
What is right now the purpose is very simple. Just how can I say this? A place where people can, well, see, the purpose is kind of multi-dimensional because there are some
right,
that may come who, who may just be interested in the history of the North, right? But ultimately, guys, Bantu Micro Village is a place, it's a housing, it's a place where people are housed, okay, temporarily up to 21 days if they choose to stay that long. And the reason why I'm allowing it to be that long is for people to really immerse themselves in the culture if they so choose, but mainly spiritually, because from the diaspora, we are dealing with some serious psychological, mental, physical, emotional baggage and trauma that many do not think that they're dealing with. They tend to ignore these things. And so what's happening is that there's this flood of people that are coming to the continent with problems, and are not choosing to deal with this. We just had a guy in Burkina Faso be mistaken for a terrorist, but he was actually dealing with schizophrenia, and also he was bipolar. But he wanted to come and invest with a brother here, buy land and build a house. He was able to buy the land and all these things, but he was only here for a month, but had never talked to anyone about his condition. So therefore, they didn't understand what he was going through. These things I look at and I pretty much scrutinize within people because I want them to know that there is a place where you can receive support, spiritual support. We deal with this spiritually because there's just so many different things that we're dealing with, from ancestral issues, some call it curses, dealing with maybe unfortunate sexual abuse within family lineages. Unfortunately, substance abuse is something that's a bit tricky because it's really about choice and willpower. So I did ask the chief about that. What about people that are dealing with these things? And he's like, because they have to learn to control themselves. That's more personal. But when it comes to spiritual attacks, and then just a range of all kinds of things, mental issues, we deal with that. So I'm just trying to supply the housing for such people. So when they come, if they bring their loved one, who may have a sickness, cancer, it could be anything, we house them and we direct them to the chief. Okay. So it's kind of strange. You would say, well, why do you want to house these types of people? Well, people are coming with various issues, right? If they know that something is going on with them and they're sincere, they're going to get the help that they need. They won't be able to come and bring harm and all that. They'll be stopped somewhere off in some other country somewhere. They'll never be able to make it. So those that are sincere and understand themselves and know that they have problems, that's where I come in. So I'm telling people, stop ignoring what's really going on within you spiritually, and that there is support here on the continent for you. It is unconventional, but it is the original way in which our ancestors dealt with us, spiritually. They had ancestral shrines. They knew how to communicate with the spirit world. They knew how to communicate with herbs, roots, all kinds of natural phenomena so that we could heal these things. We didn't have to heal these things at one point, but if we happened to have gone to warfare or whatever, there were ways for one to heal. And emotional abuse, psychological trauma, post-traumatic slave syndrome, what is it called, ethnic cleansings. These things are traumatic, and so we offer that support spiritual support using traditional methods. And I think that they're the best ones as far as what I've come across in West Africa. There are many others, by the way, you guys. It's just, this is where I was directed first due to my mother's lineage. They did pass through this way. So I had to come and
Wow.
do some
I mean,
myself.
that right there is literally very important. I know it's very sad that one of our own, that brother, had to die like that. But we have a lot of mental issues. As a people, particularly in the continent of Africa, they don't address this issue. They don't even know that it's mental issue in the continent of Africa. It's very much ignored. You see, so how can we actually, because both continental Africans, we need to address mental issues. Is there in the family, is there in the community, and all of those things. And hearing you speak about these things is very, very important, that we see how our people should be able to have this help that they need, because it's ignored and they are not taking it lightly. Because I would love to see, like you stated, that this is one of the purposes of Bonsu Micro Village, which I think that a lot of our people should definitely, come and get that help, because it's very important. Sometimes we don't know, but that's why when someone, I don't know who's made a statement like, you have to admit that you have an issue or a mental issue if you have one. But my question is, what if you don't even know that you have a mental issues? You
It
see,
is true.
how can you identify, or how can you admit? It takes another person or someone who's gone through that, or someone, a doctor or something, to actually see that. So we need this thing you're talking about. We need that healing. We need that attention, emotionally and otherwise. I really want us to address this type of issues, because it's really hurting us and it's killing us as a people, both continental Africans.
Can I add something? Says there's a
Yeah,
great deal of denial in the West as well as here on the continent. As an example, this person here says, Daniel says, mental issue is not a big thing in Africa. I would disagree with that, just
right,
based off of the extremity. Now, many will say, well, wait a minute, that's spiritual. I beg to differ.
right.
Many people are hiding behind religion or
Mm-hmm.
not being cured. They're not being cured psychologically. They're hiding sex abuse from elders. You understand? There's a lot of things that people cover up using these different systems that were designed through the colonies to prevent our people from speaking out. African people are some of the most patient people, but they will bury trauma like nobody's business. I see it with my own eyes. I've seen it in documentaries.
Facts,
Were you say something?
fact. I mean, I said that's a fact. This is one aspect they don't want to touch, because this thing you're saying right here, I wish we could do a separate topic about this thing, because this thing is killing us. This is the silent, and this bearing of all of these abuses is really killing us as a people. Because we have a lot of abuse that is going on. We are taught how to oppress it. We are taught how to be quiet, be respectful to elders. That's how they call it. You don't have to challenge them. You don't have to talk about it. And particularly the women, when it comes to the issue of rape, nobody's going to believe you, or they're going to blame you. They're going to say it's your fault. It's all of this. And then you see them, suppressing these things, and when they get married or something, you still see this attitude, it's resurfaced, because the trauma, emotional and psychologically, is affecting these people, how they suppress this thing for so long. And I have a lot of friends and people that I have seen with my eyes that have gone through a lot of these issues. Again, no one will believe you. When you speak out, they will say, why didn't you speak out when you should? But if you had, yet they will still, nobody will believe you. You see, they will say it's too late. Why are you talking about it now? You see,
Mhm.
so these are the things. A lot of things is really going on that is swept
Yeah.
under the rug, under the carpet, that needs to be addressed in the continent of Africa. We need that honesty. We need to tell ourselves the brutal truths Otherwise, we
That is,
cannot move forward. And this aspect
yeah.
here is very important, because of religion. It's making a lot of people, they hide under the concept of religion, and our issues are not being addressed. That is why we are called the most patient people and all of these things. I beg to differ. We are not that patient. Ancient Africans were not like this. You know, we deal with our issues, we bring our, we settle a lot of things. This thing of patience is just religion,
Mhm.
So, I mean, this is a separate topic, but it's very important to
Oh,
me. Very, very
yeah.
important to me. This topic right here, I mean,
Yeah, but I add also is that I also have optimism with regards to this matter. I do believe that with time, people are going to become more comfortable with returning back to the origins. It's going to come with a lot of information, though. We have to continue to dive deep and take a look at slavery. Unfortunately, some people I noticed don't want to really talk about it, and it is boring, and monotonous. But it really helps, especially if you have interest here on the continent, because there are some wounds that are still open and some a lack of understanding as to what really happened.
right,
Everyone wants to
right,
point and say, well, the Africans sold us. It wasn't that simple. There were so many things happening on the continent, like so many
right,
different things. So I think with time and more exploration as to what Bonsu is all about, and people will see that, what, maybe it is okay to kind of go take a look at this. See, we've dealt with it with, you need to go talk to someone, okay, that's fine. Go to church, talk to your pastor, okay, that's fine. But what about your old medicine? There's like ancient medicines using just natural methods. Now I think that it works well, especially for the diaspora, because you've gone out and you've received all this trauma in your life, and then at the end of the day, you're going to leave your corporate job, you're going to leave your four-wall beautiful mansion, and you're going to come right here to this Stat Truth home and tap into some healing that we all want to. And so that's why I even designed it that way, because sometimes people don't want to do the corporate all the time. They don't want to do the square walls. They need something else. They need nature. So that's why I also planted all of those fruit trees and trees, because with time, it's just going to be filled like a little mini forest. It's a little getaway, just in the desert, because it becomes like the desert here too. But my intent is to continue to design as we go, and be
right,
filled with the spirit of my ancestors, and be comfortable with expressing that. It has not always been easy to say, well, it's for spiritual purpose. And they're like, what? Why are you going back to, why are you doing, that's what enslaved us. There's some misinformation there. Slow down, because a lot of our problem has to do with our issues in gender.
right,
Okay, who was truly in power at first? But see, that's another. So we have a serious disconnect with or our true origins, and slavery and the Holocaust and genocide of the Aboriginal. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things that have
right,
happened, not just slavery.
right,
Why did all of these things happen? Why did all of these things happen?
right,
Who was ruling the earth first? You know what I mean? And so that's why I just say, how about this? Let's just start right here in this little bitty piece of plot of land. This is what I'm going to contribute, what I
right.
think will help a little bit, and I hope
It
it
will
does. I really
definitely.
hope it does.
Right. So, how do you feel, building your first home, like you actually built it? Because I mean, it's different. Listen, a lot of people, they buy, they do all of this, but seeing that you actually built it and you brought in your concept into, life, right? You brought in that, into life, right?
Yeah, it's
So
not really a big
how
deal. Oh, okay.
how does that
Go keep.
make you? A lot of us, because a lot of us are actually aspiring to do that, right? So, but to actually build something, right? Because it's kind of difficult for most of us, or some of us, right? But seeing
Mhm.
that you are doing it, and as a woman, I mean, I'm not saying that women are not doing that in the continent of Africa, but seeing that,
You're
right, you're
doing
doing
it.
this is quite inspiring, particularly to the younger generation, to look up to, to a personality like
Mm,
yours, saying that you're doing this thing and it's achievable, it can be done, and the
yes.
purpose behind it is also, is very
Yes.
important. right, is very important. So that's why this Bonsu micro village, I'm really, really very interested in it. It is very intriguing to me. I mean, so how does that really make you feel?
Yeah. It's not really a super big deal to me, only because it's been in like in the process before I even got here.
Mm-hmm.
But the things that really make me super excited is like what I can do on the inside, because on the outside it looks very traditional and I want it to be. But on the
Right.
inside, I do want to cater to the modernity that many people do want and expect. The reason for that
Mm-hmm.
is because when people come up here and they stay for a while, they might become overwhelmed by the culture, by the dust, by the things that they may not like, they may not understand. And they might have some personal breakthroughs that might be difficult. So I said, well, let me cater to that side of them. But as far as like how I feel, it's exciting. It's exciting. And it's almost unbelievable because I didn't really have this plan for the US. I didn't feel any interest there. I didn't feel connected to do it there. I didn't feel like we could ever heal there. I just, to me, that the healing to me was just very, just minimal. And so being here amongst girlfriends and sisters, African women that are tapping into this, have done it, are going to do it, that's what inspires me. I'm sitting up here calling in my tribe of women who are building currently and are architects, or designers, or are
Right.
drawing out their plans. You check, I put circles and I said, this is what I want and this is how to measure them. It was very simple for me. I said, because I'm not a professional at this, give me circles first. And then the next one, I have another design. But see, that's what I wanted. I wanted different aesthetics for the eyes. When people arrive, I want them to see this first. Very simple. Let's just work with circles first. And then this next one, we'll do ovals. You see how I am very simple because I don't really know design like that. So as it being like, wow, my first, yeah, it's pretty cool. But also I'm supposed to do this because this was supposed to be for my mother. You see what I'm saying? And so that's why it's like, this is what you're supposed to do. As a
Right.
woman, you're supposed to be in the house. That's how I see it. Like, this is something that's supposed to do. You're supposed to build for your family.
Right.
That's how I felt like, this is what you're supposed to do. Because I see people doing it all around me. People are always building. Stay building on the continent. It's amazing. People build they try. They work for years. And eventually they have their land, they start building. So I like to be a part of that. I love that I'm a part of that.
Right. Thank you
Builders.
so much for answering. Right.
And they may
So
not
the
have all
final
the
question.
resources, but they do their
Mm-hmm.
best. They do their
Right. Right. So the final question is, what advice do you have
yeah.
for the African diasporas, right, who are trying to repatriate back to the motherland? What advice do you have for them in terms of building, in terms of healing, spirituality, and all of that, right? So what is the advice you want to give to them?
Right. The advice that I would give to the diaspora prior to coming is, if you decide you want to build, is to take the time to really think about, first of all, why you're coming. You know, be real with yourself, be honest with yourself, like why you're coming, and also prepare, for diverse environments. Be really, really honest with yourself. Plan to see different regions. Like, don't be afraid to venture first to feel what's most comfortable for you. I did that. I traveled around to different regions because I wanted to see where I could do this. And of course, I picked the least favorable place that people dislike the most because it's highly misunderstood. But see, I'm deep down inside, I always go to the underdog because you know what? We're going to turn this small thing into something big. And that's what I believed. I felt well. And also, when you go, please be respectful of the different environments because they don't have to sell you land. They don't have to be nice to you, all of these things. And do your best to not forget about your communities too, because that's something that's a part of Bansu, is an educational center that I don't talk about. But I do want people to know that the community, I will do my best, to take care, to bring resources, information, and bridge the gap so that people can come together in that too, with regards to education, technology. It's going to be very small scale because I can only work with what I have. but hopefully it'll be something that will be inspiring for people to come, and support. I don't know, but we'll see what happens. But I'm definitely thinking about the children as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, well, what do I have
Mhm.
to say? I mean, I know, like, I mean, I just have to, I'm so sorry. I have to bridge the thing that you and I talked about. I know you said, I mean, I know you said you don't want promotion, but sis, I mean, I
Yeah.
have to say it because you're doing a great job. You just don't understand. And you're very inspiring to a lot of us, me particularly, the things you're doing, you're bridging the gap. You open this line where we can actually have an honest conversation, the African continental Africans and Africans from the diaspora, where we can have that, you know,
Yeah.
you know, talk that for so long we've never had and things like that, right? So
Yeah.
even if it's a little bit rough at currently now at the beginning and all of that, but I see that there is still hope. At least we are having the conversation to start with, and
Yeah.
it's not going to be cozy and all of those things. I know it's going to be ups and down and things like that, but I think there's going to be there's much more understanding as regards to both parties. At least we are getting to know ourselves. We are finding a lot about each each other and things like that. So, I mean, you're really doing a great job that I don't
Thank
even know
you.
how to express
Thank
myself.
you. Oh,
Please, I really want people to really support your project because I know the project is still ongoing. It's not yet done. And besides that, I really want to see Bonsu micro village across the continent of Africa. When it comes to our educational system, right?
yeah.
It
Yeah.
should be replaced with the concept of something like Bonsu micro village that is actually African made, African design, African whatever. You
Oh,
see,
there's.
all of these things,
Mhm.
including what is it called? Our health system, Bonsu village health system. However I want to call it, but that's what I really want to see because I want it to replace this Eurocentric, things, and we should stop depending too much on other people because how do we entrust our lives and everything to other people? So, I mean, they decide everything for us. So we should start depending on what we have and use it because we actually, like I listened to you one time you were talking, you said we have something. So let's make the use or the most of what we have. Let's use it. And it's actually
Absolutely.
beautiful. Right. So
Oh,
that's what I want to see that Bonsu
yeah.
micro village across,
Can I say
across
one more thing?
Africa. Yes,
I,
yes.
I totally forgot to talk about just briefly that even this is so interesting. See, this is why what's going to happen is it's going to promote itself. It's going to promote itself through word of mouth. And I don't want that whole, because it's spiritual, we have
I
to be kind of
understand.
careful. But
Yes.
also just the concept that I'm working towards is self-sustainability. And that is something that I want to put in front of the children's faces here with regards to recycling and using renewable sources. You understand? Like we catch our own rainwater and use it. You see,
Mm-hmm.
we have what else? We're going to use solar panels eventually. It takes time because it's so expensive. So, but also we're growing our own food there. You see what I'm
Right.
saying? So all of everything that I'm attempting to do has to do with self sufficiency. So it limits our dependence on government. I feel as though African
Mm-hmm.
people in general, they have so many talents. They got the land, they have all these things, but they want to go to Europe and give all that talent away. And I'm like, why? When you can live sustainably and just modernize it a little bit, tweak it a bit by incorporating permaculture and other methods that are used to sustain yourselves. Therefore, you're not dependent or crippled by anything the government or any state does. You have the power. And to me, that is a wealthy person, someone who has no need of, like if something happens, they're not crippled, by corona or anything like that. They're sustained, they're stable. So that is pretty much what I'm promoting. That is what I promote. I try, the children that come to help, they're watching, they're looking, so that's really because I like it. I'm learning too, so hopefully that'll be something, if anything, that goes down in history, is that place ran on its own, like with no,
Right.
Right now we need some power for the government, but not maybe later, not so. You know what I mean? So
Right.
that is it. And oh yeah.
Right.
So
Thank you so much.
we're working
Thank you so
for
much, Sister ES. Please, please, please support our sister. Please, I know, support our sister. She's doing an amazing, amazing, amazing job. We all need to support each other. We need to support ourselves. Please,
well,
let's support each other. Thank you so much once again. Thank you for the amazing viewers. Thank you for tuning, for showing up. Thank you, ES, so much. I truly respect and appreciate, the things you're doing. I mean, it's quite inspiring to a whole lot of us, and we wish to see more of you,
so much.
and the things that you're doing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Hopefully, I will have to come to Bonsu Micro Village to visit.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, sis.
Mm,
You have anything to say before we
yeah.
go?
So, oh, you're most welcome. You're most welcome. All right. No, no, someone had mentioned something about a school, and I was like, you have no idea what's boiling behind us. So patience and thank you. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much, sis.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye. All right, guys. Thank you so much for your
All right.
contribution. Please go
Bye.
ahead and join this solution code if you haven't already. It's a place where we talk about and we address issues, right, as Black people globally. So write me an email, follow me on Instagram if you haven't already, and thank you so much. Raise the likes up and share this live stream. I love you guys. Have a wonderful day and see you soon. Goodbye.